welcome to the new Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah for the Knicks and the Jazz meeting for the second time this season. The Knicks at 25-15 and a virtual tie for first with Boston. They've won 2 in a row, 3 of the last 4, while Utah with a record of 27-16 leading the Midwest Division by 3 games over San Antonio. Hi everybody, I'm Marv Albert along with John Andres, and John, when these two clubs met at the Garden back in December, All-Star Karl Malone had what has to be considered his worst game of the season. He shot only 4 for 16, had only 14 points, well below his season average of better than 27 a game.
Yes, that's a nightmare for Karl Malone, as he recalls it, but it's unlikely, Marv, that will happen here in their home where they are so tough. He was very poor in New York, as you mentioned, 4 for 16, 14, 10, way below his normal average. His third leading scorer in the NBA, and last year he averaged 31 and 15 rebounds against the Knicks in their 2 games. So as I said, unlikely it will happen here, and he will want to avenge that very disappointing performance. But I think the reason for that, Marv, was they were fatigued. It was their 4th game in 5 nights, and they had come off a tough game the night before in Boston. They were tired in New York. They're not tired here at home tonight.
And I would think, as you indicate, that Karl Malone will be sky high for tonight's activity. Now, in contrast to Malone, Xavier McDaniel had a terrific game against Utah at the Garden, but on this road trip, his production has been way down.
Yes, the Knicks have seen the best and the worst of Xavier here halfway through the season. But in New York, he was dynamite. He was what the Knicks expected and hoped for. He did it all that night against the Utah Jazz. The Knicks knew they were tired, and they got out running, and Xavier was at the end of a break a couple of times for a jam in that situation. Then when the Knicks ran more, Xavier always seemed to be in front of Mark Jackson, who was piling up the assists that night. Xavier also had the jump shot working, settling down rather in the corner, hitting the nice jump shot. He shot very well in New York, 11 out of 22, 29 points, 11 rebounds, even made foul shots 7 out of 8. He played 38 minutes. But as you mentioned, Marv, on the trip, it's been a different story. His time is way down. If he's not doing it early, he's not playing. 21 minutes a game on the road trip. 8-point-a-game average, 40% from the field, and only 3 rebounds a game. It's not the Xavier McDaniel that the Utah Jazz saw in New York. The Knicks are only hoping tonight it happens again for him.
And fortunately for Pat Riley and the Knicks, in the absence of the good numbers by McDaniel, they've received terrific work from Anthony Mason, who the last 2 games has also gotten himself into the offense. We'll be back with the Knicks and the Utah Jazz right after we pause with these messages. Well, the usual capacity crowd here at the new Delta Center, better than 19,000 on hand. The Utah Jazz with 17 straight wins at their new address. They lost their opener to Seattle back on the 7th of November, and since then they have won 17 in a row. And with a home record of 17-1, that is the best at home in the NBA. The team record is 19 that was set back in 89-90. And now we're set for the introduction of the lineup. Let's join with the public address.
The Jazz are hosting the New York Knicks. Introducing the New York Knicks, wearing number 2, a 6'2" guard from UNLV, Greg Anthony. Number 3, a 6'5" guard from Oklahoma State, John Starks. Number 14, a 6'7" forward from Tennessee State, Anthony Mason. Number 20, a 6'5" guard from Everett College, Kennard Winchester. Number 23, a 6'8" forward from Washington State, Brian Quinnett. Number 40, a 7-foot center from Michigan, Tim McCormick. And wearing number 55, a 6'8" forward from UCLA, Kiki Vandeweghe. Starting for the Knicks at forward, wearing number 32 at 6'8" from Wichita State, Xavier McDaniel. Starting forward, number 34 at 6'9" from Virginia Union, Charles Oakley. The starting center, number 33 at 7 feet from Georgetown, Patrick Ewing. On the guard line, wearing number 13 at 6'3" from St. John's, Mark Jackson. And at guard, number 21 at 6'6" from Tennessee, Chattanooga, Gerald Wilkins. The Knicks are coached by Pat Riley, assisted by Dick Harder and Paul Silas, along with Jeff Van Gundy, their trainer Mike Saunders. Tonight's honorary ball persons are located at center court, sponsored by Foot Locker, Jason Rainey, Levi Brown, and Nick Rice. will be into the baskets throughout the game this evening. If you're between the ages of 10 and 16, you can register to be an honorary ball person at any Foot Locker location. And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing our Utah Jazz. Wearing number 11, 6'2" guard from Wake Forest, Delaney Rudd. Number 14, 6'1" guard from Providence, Eric Murdoch. Number 15, 6'5" guard from Kentucky Wesleyan, Corey Crowder. Number 21, 6'8" forward from Alabama, David Benoit. Number 23, 6'6" forward from DePaul, Tyrone Corbett. Number 40, 6'10" center from George Washington, Mike Brown. And number 50, 6'10" center from Arizona State, Isaac Aston. Starting for the Jazz at forward, at 6'9" from Louisiana Tech, the mailman, Karl Malone. At forward, number 30 at 6'5" from East Carolina, Theodore Blue Edwards. At center, number 53 at 7'4" from UCLA, Mark Eaton. On the guard line, number 12 at 6'1" from Gonzaga, John Stockton. And at guard, number 24 at 6'4" from Mississippi State, Jeff Malone. The Jazz are coached by Jerry Sloan, assisted by Bill Johnson, Gordon Shays, and David Fredman. Our trainer, Don Sparks, assisted by Terry Clark. Our officials for tonight's game will be Hugh Hollins, Ryan, and Bill Schooner.
The Utah Jazz, coming off the victory in Seattle Saturday night, beat the Sonics 104-103. They had lost 7 straight on the road, while the Knicks come off the win against the Clippers in Los Angeles. And with the low production of Charles Oakley and Xavier McDaniel, the Knicks delighted that Anthony Mason and John Starks have been able to put together these numbers, although they've done it most of the season. But on this road trip, Mason shooting 69%. He's averaging 14.5, averaging 10 rebounds, and John Starks just continues his surprising play in his second year as a New York Knicks.
It's great that Pat Riley now has that flexibility. Mason has been in the game at the end of games on this road trip. The important minutes are the ones where he has been delivering.
We were chatting with Utah assistant coach Gordon Chiesa, and the first 2 people that he talked about were Mason and Starks. So impressed with their play off the bench. The Knicks have won the last 3 against Utah. Here is McDaniel, way off on his first attempt. And here's it from the crowd with the air ball. John Stockton being guarded by Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson has had 2 very impressive games against Utah. In the game in New York, a 17-assist performance. Blue Edwards, played by Xavier McDaniel. And it's rebounded by Patrick Ewing. Jackson finding McDaniel, met by Stockton. And here is Ewing. Yes. So the Knicks off to a 2-0 lead.
This could be one of Patrick Ewing's jump shooting nights. Reason being, the further away Mark Eaton is from the basket, the better for the Knicks, and the more they can drive to the basket.
Malone being guarded by Oakley. Malone from deep. And it's last touch by Eaton.
It's amazing. Ewing jumped in the air, and Eaton, flat-footed, knocked the ball out of bounds at 7-4.
I mentioned that the Knicks have won the last 3 against Utah. The Knicks were also here in preseason on opening night at the Delta Center, and they beat the Jazz. Eaton protecting the baseline as they double up. And it will be Utah ball.
Well, that combination of defenders resulted in Mark Jackson falling out of bounds. He thought he could draw a foul, but he had no targets here with the quick hands of John Stockton and the size, the immensity of Mark Eaton.
Minute and a half gone by. Illegal defense called. So Utah will get a new 24. On Saturday night in Seattle, the Jazz pulled it out against the Sonics on a Jeff Malone steal and layup with 9 seconds left. Stockton gets it out. Here's Karl Malone. And rebounded by the X-Man. 2-on-1. Stockton racing back. Oakley changed his mind and led to the turnover. He had the open jump and passed it.
Well, Charles thinks pass first.
Karl Malone has tied the game at 2. That victory over Seattle on Saturday, Utah's first win on the road in over a month. They had lost 7 in a row. Here's Stockton on the run. It's an offensive foul. Blue Edwards gaining position.
Blue Edwards does not score much, and he doesn't rebound much as a starting forward, but he plays defense well. And he analyzed Mark Jackson's moves. Mark thought he could slide around him, but he couldn't.
Lou Edwards in his 3rd season from East Carolina, a first-round draft pick back in 1989. Here's Jeff Malone. The Jazz with a 4-2 lead.
Jeff Malone's strength is coming off picks, as he just did. Wilkins knew that, was right on him, but Malone is a great shooter.
Wilkins with the step. Jackson is rejected by Eaton. Here's Jackson to the reverse. Good pass from Ewing, and the game is tied at 4. Jeff Malone working off the pick, and that pass thrown away. Eaton couldn't get to it. And that is a double dribble. That's one you rarely see. Hugh Holland's working the game with Ronnie Nunn and Bill Spooner, and Hugh with the indication that the dribble was done with both hands. Karl Malone has the open shot. Jeff Malone able to rescue.
Well, the Knicks can only hope that Karl Malone continues to shoot this way.
Karl Malone opening at 1 out of 4 from the field. And Edwards fouled by Oakley.
I think, Marv, that looked more like a foul than it actually was.
It's a non-shooting affair, and Edwards will throw it in. Blue Edwards last year went through an injury-plagued season, missed 20 games. Knicks already committing 4 turnovers. Edwards off the mark. Now Oakley pumps, and Eaton with the rebound. Game tied at 4. Both clubs off the mark here at the start. Karl Malone was fouled, so he will go to the line. Oakley picking up his second. Utah has struggled at the free throw line as of late. Saturday night in Seattle, 14 for 23, only 5 of 11 in the second half.
And Karl Malone, the main man on this team, has also been plagued with problems. In the last 3 games, he's only made 18 of 27 from the line.
Early entrance for Anthony Mason with Charles Oakley picking up 2. A little glare from Charles in the direction of Ronnie Nunn. Karl Malone averaging 27.5 per game. He is a 76% free throw shooter. Utah 5 and the Knicks 4. That's Edwards on McDaniel. Mason being guarded by Karl Malone. Shot clock at 5. Ewing rebounded by Malone.
Boy, you hear that oomph when he pulled that down. Lots of energy pours out of Karl Malone.
Stockton drawing the foul. It's on Jackson. So John Stockton, an 82% free throw shooter, will go to the line.
As you mentioned earlier, Marv, the Knicks have won the last 3 against the Jazz, but the impressive one was the one here last year when the Knicks ran them out. A sight rarely seen here in Utah, but the Knicks got off to a great start, and Jackson and Ewing had particularly big games. Ewing blocked, in fact, 12 shots against this team in the 2 games last year.
So The Knicks winning in a rough 109-94 last January. Now Greg Anthony will come on. Pat Riley looking to do some shuffling. Ewing affected by the presence of Eaton. Gerald Wilkins staying with John Stockton. Karl Malone. And the foul. Utah with a 9-4 lead.
Well, the patience of John Stockton showed. He waited till Malone got the position. Now, he knew then that Mason was dead. Once Malone had him in front of him, and the help didn't arrive quickly enough for that pass deflection, which didn't occur.
Anthony Mason called for the foul. Mark Jackson sitting down. Greg Anthony has come on. 6 points for Malone.
Boy, you see him concentrate. He really got into concentration on that foul shot.
Utah 10 and the Knicks 4. Wilkins and Anthony now in the backcourt. McDaniel, Mason, Ewing up front. Edwards bothering McDaniel, able to recover. Ewing, yes, and the Knicks now trail by the score of 10-6. Patrick Ewing with his second field goal. Patrick Ewing coming off the 2 sensational games after the ineffective performance in Philadelphia last Wednesday. He has really turned it up. Illegal defense called. That won't count. That is waved off. Illegal defense for the second time against the Knicks. So a technical foul awarded to the Jazz. Jeff Malone, their best free throw shooter, will go to the line. But first, a timeout called by Utah. However, Malone will take the technical first. Among the NBA leaders at the line at 89%, although even Jeff Malone has been affected by the recent poor foul shooting. He's missed 3 of his last 9. Unheard of for Jeff. Now the timeout. It's the Jazz 11 and the Knicks 6. Well, this past Saturday night in Seattle, good pressure by the Jazz. They're trailing in the ball game, but the Supersonics picked off by Jeff Malone, and with the steal and the drive, the Jazz able to defeat the Sonics 104-103, and as we mentioned earlier, that stopped the 7-game road losing streak for Utah. Good portion of their games in the early going on the road. Here's Stockton from downtown. Leads the NBA in that department. Karl Malone able to get it back.
And he's been making them at a better than 50% clip over the last 10 games, but he doesn't take that many.
Stockton rejected by Ewing. They have 12 on the shot clock.
So Ewing made the big gamble here, covered a lot of ground getting over to Stockton. Instinctively, he knows if Eaton gets the pass return, he could probably get back to him because Eaton takes a while to wind up before he shoots.
Jeff Malone fouled by Gerald Wilkins.
His first personal. He wants 15 fouls.
The numbers on John Stockton, phenomenal shooting at just under 50%, followed by Joe Dumars and Drazen Petrovic of the Nets, number 3. Stockton has attempted 109. He's hit 54. And now Delaney Rudd has come on, replacing John Stockton. This is a pattern. Rudd usually comes on about this point to give Stockton an early rest. Delaney Rudd in his 3rd year out of Wake Forest, a shooting guard in college and a point guard in the NBA.
He has taken that time away from Eric Murdoch significantly as Ewing works in close. Eaton doesn't put the hands up, makes it easy for Ewing.
Yes, Murdoch, the rookie from Providence, #1 draft pick, has not been getting the playing time. Tyrone Corbin is getting set to make his first appearance. Shot clock at 5. Here's Anthony. Ewing, Eaton. Beautiful play by Patrick Ewing, and the Knicks now trail 13-10.
Well, no way Eaton can keep up with Ewing's mobility, as clearly demonstrated by Patrick.
Delaney Rudd being watched by Greg Anthony. McDaniel went flying.
Well, Blue Edwards went crazy with his hands. He knocked him down trying to fight over a pick. Edwards now, number 30, top of the screen, just pushes his man right out of the way.
Xavier could not believe it, staring at Blue Edwards as he is replaced by Tyrone Corbin. So Corbin now matched with McDaniel. That's an offensive foul.
An offensive foul committed by Gerald Wilkins.
Called on Wilkins, his second personal. 4:43 remaining in this first quarter from the new Delta Center in Salt Lake City. Marv Albert with John Andres. Utah with the ball. They lead it 13-10.
You know, Marv, they really use that $50 million well here. A lovely place.
Great place. Here's Rudd. Delaney Rudd giving the Jazz a 5-point lead. It has the large capacity, over 19,000, but it still gives you the impression that you're playing in a pit. Good home team advantage. And Corbin stepped out. It will be Nick Ball. Here's John Starks replacing Gerald Wilkins. Reminds me of the new Arco Arena in Sacramento.
Yes, a larger version. It goes up vertically, though, so quickly here. You get a feeling that there's a lot of people here. 20,000, just a bit under that.
And you carefully checked out all the concession stands prior to the game.
Absolutely.
And I followed you around like a fool.
But you didn't dig deep, Marv.
No. Ewing was blocked. Will it count? The officials checking it out. Yes, it will. He gets the call. So the foul plus the bucket.
The basket is scored.
Nice pitch back by Xavier McDaniel. Patrick Ewing makes his move inside before he gets it up. And the outside official, Ronnie Nunn, called a foul, and he deferred to Hugh Hollins underneath the basket, who said, yes, it counts.
Foul was called on Mark Eaton. Utah 15 and the Knicks 12. Just under 4 minutes remaining in this first quarter. Rudd with the spin. Here's Corbin. And Malone with the steal. Corbin. Loose ball foul called on Karl Malone.
Well, you know, the officials are rough tonight. They're really blowing whistles.
A technical foul on Malone, who did not like that call.
By the middleman, his first personal, the Jazz second team, and in addition, the technical foul charge to Karl.
John Starks will shoot the technical. Utah with a 2-point lead. And it's Nick Ball. They'll put it in play in the backcourt. Pat Riley now going with a front line of Ewing with McDaniel and Mason. Starks and Anthony at the guards. Mason with the pick, freeing up Anthony, goes at Eaton. Yes, and it counts. Or will it be an offensive foul? It is an offensive foul. But Greg Anthony going right at the 7'4", Mark Eaton.
Just a great move by Anthony. He couldn't avoid Eaton, and his momentum was going to the hoop.
Offensive foul on Anthony. Knicks trail by 2.
Anthony doing a lot of talking to Delaney Rudd after their contact.
Here's Ewing.
That's a tough shot for Ewing because he was on the move.
Just under 3 minutes remaining in the first. Karl Malone is rejected by Patrick Ewing. Starks with the hesitation dribble, drew the foul. It's called on Rudd. Kiki Vandeweghe getting set to come on. Knicks take a timeout with 2:46 to go in the first.
A real winner knows how to party right. Please use good sense when you drink and know when to say when. A reminder from Budweiser.
Correction on the personal foul charge to Mark Eaton. It should be attitude remains.
A look at the new Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. Jazz have won 17 straight here, and there have been several blowouts. Beat Dallas by 35, beat Houston by 28, knocked off Golden State here by 27, Miami by 25 points. They double up on Ewing, and it nearly paid off. Here's Anthony. Yes. Greg Anthony connects, and the game is tied at 15. Well, Greg Anthony in the last 4 games only 7 for 24, so that had to feel good. The Knicks in the midst of a 9-2 run. Anthony with a steal. He has Starks. Run back. Anthony takes all the way, and the Knicks lead by 2.
That head fake was beautiful. It was so deceptive. He had Starks running with him. Starks helped him because he was a target, and it looked like that's where the pass was going. Meanwhile, the Knicks are now 8 for 15 in the first quarter. Jazz are 4 for 15.
And it's been a bruising first quarter. Jeff Malone. Rebound goes to Vandeweghe. The Knicks now with an 11-2 run. Ewing. Yes, had terrific position on Eaton and was able to line drive it from the baseline. Knicks lead by 4. Minute and a half to go in the first. Mentioned the good Knicks shooting. Utah, on the other hand, only 4 for 16 from the field. Karl Malone was able to find Mark Eaton. He was looking down at the basket as he laid it home. Utah trailing by 2, 19-17. Ewing, yes, having no difficulty now with Eaton.
Well, Eaton's got to work harder and get those hands up, and until he does, it looks like Ewing's going to kill him.
Patrick Ewing with 14 points on 7 for 10 from the field. Nice entry pass from Karl Malone. It's the Knicks 21, the Jazz 19 with 45 seconds left in the first.
Mason is getting some work out with Karl Malone, the best power forward in the NBA.
Here's Vandeweghe. And the Knicks shooting has really picked up from the midway point of this first quarter on. Knicks lead 23-19. Run off the fake. And it's a blocking foul on Anthony.
You know, Marv, Anthony is so good defensively. He's quick and he gets in front of people. But I think the overacting on the contact is just biting him. It's hurting him because there's a resentment, I think, on the part of the official to buy it. You see the contact now, and he just goes flying.
In particular, from a rookie player.
Yes.
Delaney Rudd was originally a third-round draft pick of Utah. They dropped him. The Knicks had him in camp. Took a look at him a couple of years back. And now back with Utah as the backup to John Stockton. Knicks lead by 2. 25 seconds remaining in the quarter. Ewing again beating Eaton.
Well, he is really taking it to him. Interesting how game to game Ewing's decisions to take the ball into the other man vary so, but tonight he's going in closer and closer.
Oh, he has just destroyed Mark Eaton in this first quarter. Here's Karl Malone from downtown. And it will be Knick ball. They have 1 1/10 second remaining in the quarter. Knicks lead by 4. And Ewing guns it down. That's the end of the first quarter. The Knicks hitting 12 of 19 from the field, and they lead the Jazz 25-21. 22 a game, and gets about 15 minutes a game. Runs the floor well. Good athlete. David Benoit.
Talking about running the floor well, Anthony Mason did it just now, as he often does, and drew the foul in so doing. The thing they say about Benoit also, Marv, is that he brings the skill of offensive rebounding to this team in a big way. The last couple of years, the Utah Jazz, despite their fine records, have been near the bottom of the league in offensive rebounding. So much now that it's up on the blackboard after every game how many offensive rebounds every member of this team gets. They're really focusing on that.
And Jerry Sloan going with a small unit out there now with Brown up front along with Benoit and Edwards. Stockton. Here's Corbin. And kept alive by Brown.
Well, I get the feeling that John Stockton carries that ball a lot when he hesitates on the dribble. It's
a little palm, you mean?
Yeah, well, just carries it before he goes to the next one.
Vandaway leading Starks. And the Knicks continuing their superb play now take a 29-21 lead on the Jazz.
And it's Patrick Ewing and 4 players off the bench that are continuing this pressure on Utah.
The Jazz taking a 20-second timeout, and Coach Jerry Sloan is very upset. Here's a look at that. The steal leading to the drive by Starks.
And Starks way up in the air, slamming that one down. A little sloppy communication between Stockton and Benoit, and the turnover killed them.
This program is authorized by Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this event without the express written consent of Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated is prohibited.
Knicks defense is very effective here. 5 steals early in the game for them.
Shot clock down at 5. Here's Edwards. And the poor Utah shooting continues. They collapse on Ewing. Gets it out. Anthony for 3. Rebound Mason, and he puts it up. The Knicks now by 10. And the crowd buzzing a bit on the apprehensive side.
Hey, since early November, they've been coming here seeing wins. This team has 17 in a row. 2 more games are going to break a franchise record for home wins. They want this one bad.
Well, you know that Jerry Sloan is very upset. And the foul call on the Jazz. It's on Blue Edwards. Isaac Austin, a 6'10 rookie out of Arizona State who rarely plays, is about to check in.
You can see the physical play on that move by Mike Brown, using his hand, setting a pick. You can't do that.
Isaac Austin wearing number 50, what you call a wide body, a second-round draft pick, is now matched with Patrick Ewing and Anthony Mason. And Ewing continues the onslaught. 18 points for Ewing. He is 9 for 12 from the field. The Knicks lead it 33-21.
Mark, Jerry Sloan must really be down on his team. Austin has only played in 14 of their 43 games.
Vandaway with the block from behind. Good recovery by Blue Edwards. Utah's hit only 7 for 23 from the floor. Here's Mason. Yes, and it counts. Anthony Mason will go to the line. It's been an extraordinary effort by the Knicks here in the first half.
And Marv, along with the incredible play offensively of Ewing, the bench is going right along with him. Mason soaring in there for that one.
Mason 2 out of 2 from the line. He now has 7 points. And the Knicks lead 36-23. Carmelo sitting it out. Carmelo did not shoot well. Also picked up a technical foul. Anthony with the steal. Here's Anthony. Yes.
Big time play by Greg Anthony.
You know, it's hard to believe what we are watching out here.
That was John Stockton he stole that ball from.
The Knicks with a 15-point lead, and Utah once again calls for time. Well, the Knicks back home on Wednesday to go up against the Washington Bullets, first of a home-and-home set, and we'll be on the air starting at 7 with Knick Game Night on Wednesday.
The last 2 for the Knicks came about because of Greg Anthony's quick hands, and oh, how he avoided Stockton, who attacked him on that play, and he still avoided contact.
And back to the live action. John Stockton able to penetrate. Karl Malone has returned along with Jeff Malone. The crowd looking to get the home club back into it. The Knicks have outscored the Jazz 13-4 here in the second quarter.
This is Jerry Sloan's small lineup, front line lineup. Karl Malone is the center. Mike Brown and Tyrone Corbin. They have performed the best when they have played together. The best front line offering that Sloan has, and Malone rolls in with his power for a hoop.
Charles Oakley is back, and he is matched defensively against Karl Malone. Nick staying with Starks and Anthony at the guards. Mason with Oakley and Vandeweghe up front. So Oakley has come on to give Patrick Ewing a rest. Patrick Ewing with another sensational effort. Anthony firing and hitting. Well, you know it is Greg Anthony's night.
I had the bad shot coming out of my mouth.
He is now 4 for 4 from the field. Also had one taken away from him on an offensive foul. Karl Malone very much back into it.
What a pass. What a pass.
And a delay of game called against the Utah Jazz.
That last hoop by Greg Anthony off the backboard and in.
Knicks now lead 40-29.
Oh, Vandeweghe cutting wide open. Didn't get the ball.
Now does get it. Finds Oakley. Nice play. Vandeweghe for Oakley. And the Knicks now lead 42-29. Mark Jackson is getting set to come on.
It's so difficult when you get passed as a cutter to continue to keep working because you get discouraged, but Vandeweghe did it well.
Jeff Malone. So Utah showing signs after the poor shooting start. Knicks now lead 42-31. They've led by as many as 15. 5 minutes gone by in the second. Starks. Oakley able to get to it. Bothered by Corbin. Here's Vandeweghe for 3. Rebound snatched by Karl Malone. Brown over Mason. Knicks now lead 42-33.
You know, Marv, they've been trying to describe why the Jazz are so tough at home. Good food, better sleeping habits. But they also, the players are also saying this crowd is the greatest. And boy, are they coming to life.
Timeout taken by Pat Riley with 6:15 left, first half.
Ticketmaster location. Charged by phone, 212-307-7171.
Darrell Wilkins has just checked in, had it knocked away. Here's Jeff Malone. Jeff Malone, one of the league's best pure shooters, and a streak shooter, has cut it down to a 7-point lead. Oakley, and this game is turned around. Jackson, McDaniel, Oakley, Mason, and Wilkins now on the floor. Jackson replacing Greg Anthony, who had one of his better stints as a New York Knick. Patrick Ewing getting set to return.
Well, that's an automatic with the Jazz coming on now.
And McDaniel rebounding the miss by Brown. 5:20 remaining in the first half. Knicks have led by as many as 15. McDaniel, yes. Xavier McDaniel with his first field goal. And the Knicks now lead 44-35. Corbin, who was acquired in the deal for Thurl Bailey, able to show the outside touch, and the Knick lead is now 7.
The reason Corbin is here for Bailey, some may question that, is that he's a more consistent shooter. McDaniel on that jump shot doesn't count.
Offensive foul. That's his second personal.
Daniel banging inside on Corbin. It's a good move, actually, if you can get away with it.
And Pat Riley sending Patrick Ewing back in. Ewing is the high man with 16. Malone stopped by Wilkins. Jackson has Wilkins ahead of the field.
Oh, what a play. When do you block a man's jump shot like that? But Gerald did it. And it's rare also when you make a great play like that you have the opportunity to score at the other end.
Knicks by 9. Stockton works off the pick, finds Brown. Malone. Rebound Benoit. And it will be Utah ball.
That's the offensive rebounding skills of Benoit that we were talking about. Gerald Wilkins beating around the pick, coming around that pick, not giving up on it, and getting a piece of Jeff Malone's jump shot and the reward at the other end.
Jeff Malone, one of his favorite spots along the right baseline. 11 for Malone, and the Knicks lead 46-39. Just under 4 minutes to go in the first half. Ewing now working against Mike Brown. He's called for the travel. Basket won't count. Mike Brown, a burly 6'9", 260 pounds, out of Newark, New Jersey, from George Washington University. Originally a third-round pick of Chicago. Played 2 years with the Bulls. Spent some time in Italy. This is 4th year with Utah. Malone off the recovery. It counts. And the foul. Mason called for the block. And Malone will go to the line. He can trim that Knick lead down to 4.
Well, on the deflection on the inbounds, Malone gets his hands on it. And he asks for a little support from the crowd, and he gets it. Interesting how Jerry Sloan shook this lineup of All-Stars up. Stockton and Malone sat him down for a while, and they have come out roaring.
They've come back from a 15-point deficit and are down by 4. Now Malone is guarding Ewing. Wilkins.
Gerald could have taken 3 steps in. He had no one on him.
Jackson on the intercept. Knicks with the numbers. Wilkins had it knocked away. And it will be Knick ball. Charles Oakley returns, replacing Anthony Mason. Good effort by Mason, sitting down with 7. So Oakley, Ewing, and McDaniel on the front line. Here is Wilkins. And the rebound handled by Benoit.
That's a tough rebound. He's a skinny guy, and he was in traffic.
Jeff Malone.
Boy, Marv, if you're a teammate of Stockton and you cut, you've got the ball.
Jeff Malone on a tear here in the second quarter. He's brought his club within 2. Jackson with a gorgeous finger roll to give the Knicks a 48-44 lead with 2:20 remaining in the first half.
John Stockton leads the NBA as usual in assists at 14 a game. He's led the league in that department for 4 successive years.
Malone foul. Patrick Ewing going for the block and picks it up.
Ewing comes over to help out. Malone gives it up. Goes baseline. Oakley presented it to him. Ewing was on top of the ball, but there was body contact as well.
First foul on Ewing, only the second team foul by the Knicks. Karl Malone, a man who has set the standards for power forwards, continues to improve his all-around game. He is the number 3 man in scoring behind Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins. And he's shooting 52%.
Last year he was second in the NBA in scoring, 29 a game.
Knicks lead 48-45 with 2 minutes remaining in the half. Ewing facing up. The Jazz all over the boards here in the second quarter. Mike Brown. That Knick lead is down to 1 and a 20-second timeout call.
Very interesting, as the roof is crashing on the Knicks, when they get back to the huddle, how Pat Riley greets them. Extremely positive, as if they have the 15-point lead, and he's got a message to pass along to them, but there's no fear whatsoever, no disappointment on his face as he greets the players.
Minute 34 to go in this first half. The Knicks at one point had a 15-point lead and appeared to be threatening a blowout. Utah was in a frantic situation. Jerry Sloan made the changes, even went to the bottom of the bench for the 6'10" rookie out of Arizona State, Isaac Austin, who rarely played briefly, and now has the big guys back on the floor. The Knick lead is only 1. Xavier McDaniel extends to a 3-point advantage. The Knicks have won the last 3 meetings against Utah, including the game here in Salt Lake City last season. Here's Benoit. Ewing able to go to the boards. We're down to 1 minute remaining in the first half. Ewing able to save it. Shot clock at 5. Xavier McDaniel. Ewing gets to it. Pat Riley says throw it out. They regroup. Down to 35 seconds to go in the half. Oh, what a pass from Jackson. Oakley blew the layup. And the save by Malone. Sensational bullet pass from Mark Jackson, and somehow Charles Oakley not able to hit the layup. Oh. Final seconds. Knicks by 3. Final seconds to the half. Here's Malone. And time runs out. Won't count. Too late. So we're halftime at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. Now the officials conferring, and Hugh Holland's going over to the scorer's table. Are they having a second thought? But
The clock has not expired at 0.8 seconds.
Well, apparently 0.8 of a second remaining. Now
There was a 24-second violation on the shot, Mark.
That's what the buzzer indicated, although both clubs thought the half had ended. And Pat Riley was looking for a pushing foul on that inbounds pass.
Ball out of bounds.
Instead, it's Utah ball with 0.8 of a second remaining. The clock does not start until the player touches the ball. So Jazz with another opportunity, and Tyrone Corbin will throw it in.
I wonder why they don't put Eaton in and plant him under the basket.
A little lack of trust in Mark catching the ball. Knicks by 3. All right, here's Corbin. Knicks don't want to commit a foul. Jeff Malone gets it off. And now, for certain, that's the end of the first half, with the Knicks leading the Jazz by the score of 50-47. Coming up, a look at what is going on elsewhere. Steve Levy at the MSG Sports Desk, and we'll hear from Steve in a moment. Back in Salt Lake City, at one point the Knicks led by as many as 15. They've been sparked again by Patrick Ewing, who leads the way with 18. Karl Malone, high man for Utah, with 16. Knicks by 3 at the half. Now to Steve Levy at the MSG Sports Desk.
Thank Thanks, Marvin. Good evening, everyone. The game you're enjoying here on MSG, it's the only game on the NBA schedule tonight. And following this game, Knicks will head home while the New Jersey Nets start a 4-game West Coast road trip. They will start it tomorrow night in Sacramento against the Kings. And speaking of the Nets, Jersey assistant coach Tom Newell and Vernon Maxwell of the Houston Rockets both suspended today for 1 game and fined by the league for bumping referees in separate incidents. Maxwell was fined $7,500 while Newell is out $2 grand. Third quarter, Philadelphia, the Spectrum on Saturday night. Tom Newell gets into it with Steve Javie over a foul call. It was never called. Picks up a technical foul. I mean, no matter how bad these guys are, there's just no place in sports for athletes or coaches to make contact with the game officials. Newell was ejected. Seconds later, head coach Bill Fitch got into it, coming to the aid of his assistant. He was done for the night also, as were the Nets. They lost by 21. Fines and suspensions, that's the bad news out of the NBA office today. The good news, the naming of Nick Anderson of the Orlando Magic, the NBA's Player of the Week. College basketball tonight, Big East style, UConn over Villanova, 72-58. You'll remember it was just 16 days ago the Wildcats handed the Huskies their only loss of the year. Well, tonight it was UConn with revenge on the brain. Scotty Burrell, the miss. He'll come up here, but never fear, there's somebody to follow, and that is Terreno Walker, the jam. UConn led 25-21. Next play up court, there'll be a scramble for that loose ball. Huskies eventually come away with it, and they make the feed to Rod Sellers. Nothing to chance there. Slams it home. Gamble Pavilion rocking. UConn out in front at the half, 37-33. That's plan B for Raleigh Massimita. The praying method proves to be somewhat successful. Lance Miller, the putback. He had 23. The deficit down to just 2. And that was about as close as Jim Calhoun would allow this one to get. Final minute, Villanova nothing but air. And it's showtime down the other end. That's Chris Smith off to Scotty Burrell. You get the idea. Connecticut over Villanova, 72-58. To the rest of the scoreboard, games of local interest. Hofstra winner over Buffalo. Robert Morris defeats St. Francis of New York 64-46. Fairfield all over St. Peter's. St. Francis, Pennsylvania outscored LIU Brooklyn 102-91. Marist a winner tonight, as was Iona. They get by Niagara 72-63. Princeton, an easy win over Franklin and Marshall, and it will be an easy win for #1 Duke. They're still playing out in the second half, only up by 40. And after being suspended and then reinstated, Conrad McRae of Syracuse now suing the NCAA for $3.1 million. That, according to broadcast reports. He's suing for mental anguish, loss of television exposure, and much more.
Sports Desk is brought to you by Dutch Boy, the official paint sponsor of the NBA. Available at Home Depot.
Another Home Depot certified advantage. Free design service. Home Depot has a brand new design center where professionals give you decorating advice, from coordinating colors to selecting products. And everything we sell is at the guaranteed low price. Like Dutch Boy paint, we have a huge selection to choose from, and we'll use our computer to custom match virtually any sample you bring us absolutely free. Home Depot.
Sports Desk is brought to you by Old Spice Pump Deodorant. Pump up your odor prevention with Old Spice Pump.
The Mike Tyson rape trial got underway today in Indianapolis. 5 jurors were agreed upon. The trial figures to last up to 3 weeks. Opening arguments could be heard as soon as Wednesday. Pittsburgh Steelers announced today that former Giants offensive coordinator Ron Earhart will now run the Steelers offense. So much for Joe Walton. And in baseball, the Yankees invited 12 non-roster players to spring training. One of the 12 is Brian Taylor. I'm Steve Levy at the MSG Sports Desk. We'll send you back to Utah for more second half basketball. Knicks and the Jazz right after this.
John Andres and the Knicks at the half lead the Utah Jazz 50-47. A look at the scoring rundown brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer, Advantage Jeep and Eagle. Patrick Ewing with another outstanding performance. 9 for 13 from the field, 18 points in all. Greg Anthony, very productive, hit 4 of 4 from the floor. He has 8. Mason with 7. And the Utah Jazz, led by Karl Malone, got off to the slow start at 16 at halftime. Jeff Malone with a good shooting second quarter with 13 points. The Knicks at one stretch, led by as many as 15, look to be on the verge of a blowout. Jerry Sloan going to the shuffling of the lineup, and things did turn from the midway portion of that second quarter on.
Dramatic turnaround because, as you mentioned, Marv, it looked like a potential blowout. But the numbers for the first half are quite similar for both teams. Rebounding is similar, assists, turnovers, A very even half, which is reflected on the scoreboard, although the Knicks are shooting better. But it's going to be a tough one. In New York, before that first game, Pat Riley made a big point about saying how this is going to be a very physical game in New York. Same thing here, and if you don't come out and play with power, you're going to get blown out. Same thing will apply in the second half.
Now the officials calling it very close in the first quarter, and things did get a bit on the scrappy side right at the start. Look at the highlights brought to you by Minolta, creators of the world's most responsive SLR cameras, the new Maxim XI series.
Knicks with the good hands in the first half. Greg Anthony, as a matter of fact, had two steals himself to lead the team. He led the break, though. He sized up what he had behind him as he handled that ball, and Ewing, with a very slick move, avoided everybody. Patrick Ewing was on fire in the first half, particularly in the first quarter when he had 8 out of 11 from the field. And that play, Eaton had the hands up, but it still wasn't enough. Karl Malone, the main man, as usual, for the Utah Jazz. Played for them in the first half. He got a good bounce, and then he took it to Anthony Mason. And he urged the crowd to support them, and they didn't need much urging because they really turned on. John Stockton, perhaps the game's greatest passer, picks out Jeff Malone, and Jeff goes to that fall-away jump shot.
And Stockton with 8 assists in the first half, although only 1 for 4 from the field with 4 points. So at the half, the Knicks lead by 3. We'll be back in Salt Lake City in a moment. 47 lead on the Utah Jazz as we head to the third quarter. Some of the close-up statistics: the Knicks 56% from the floor on 23 out of 41. Utah came on in the second quarter after going 6 out of 19 in the first quarter, and the Knicks with 5 blocked shots.
Ewing leading the way as usual. The Knicks also with the good hands, 7 steals in the first half. And this call to the bench is brought to you by New York Telephone, who reminds you the New York Telephone regional calling area is bigger than you think. And the Knicks leading in the bench scoring 2-1. Greg Anthony with an excellent first half.
Utah ball as we open up in the third. John Stockton and Jeff Malone at the guards. Karl Malone, Blue Edwards, and Mark Eaton comprise the Jazz front line. Wilkins closing the baseline. Jeff Malone going to the fadeaway, and Xavier McDaniel rebounds. Mark Jackson, Gerald Wilkins in the backcourt. Patrick Ewing with Charles Oakley and Xavier McDaniel up front. Ewing with a pull-up, rebounded by Edwards.
Tough shot for him off the dribble. Stockton had 8 assists in the first half.
Goes to the reverse. John Stockton brings the Jazz within 1. Shot clock at 8. Ewing off a double team, pops it over to McDaniel. Wilkins with 1 on the shot clock. And Wilkins came in from out of bounds, so it will be Utah ball.
John Stockton moments ago going baseline, beats 2 people, then he's greeted by a third Nick, Patrick Ewing, but the up and under move helps him escape.
Edwards giving Utah the 1-point lead. At one stretch, Utah led by as many as 7. That was early, and then the Knicks went on the run. Here's Jackson. And Malone lost it.
Well, looking at Xavier running up and down the court, I get the feeling there's a slight limp there. I'm not certain, though, but the intensity doesn't seem to be with him.
Oh, Oakley off a beautiful pick and roll gives the Knicks a 52-51 lead.
So beautiful that all of the Utah Jazz defenders were stationary. They didn't even wave at Charles.
Oakley jumping out on a double team. Edwards off the fake. Knicks wanted a travel call. Here's Malone. Karl Malone with 18 points. Utah by 1. McDaniel. So this one seesaws here at the start of the third quarter. Knicks 54, the Jazz 53.
Terrific pass by Jackson. Jackson had his season high against the Utah Jazz in the assist department in New York, 17. And Xavier was the beneficiary as he had that great night in New York.
And last touch by Stockton. Mark Jackson has been very effective against Utah. The game here in Salt Lake City last year, in the second quarter, he hit 8 of 9 from the field that helped turn this into a blowout. Knicks by 1. 3 minutes gone by in the third. Here's Jackson. And Oakley able to run it down.
You see what that extra pass gets, though. A wide open shot.
Jackson able to rebound. It will be Utah ball. Jerry Sloan, the coach of the Utah Jazz, 4th season at the helm, 7th overall as an NBA head coach. Guided the Jazz to 3 straight 50 victory seasons, but they have not been able to do it in the playoffs.
Oh, in the 8 years that they've been in the playoffs, and it has been 8 successive years, because John Stockton is part of that success as he hits that layup. They have never gone beyond the second round, and the feeling is they just wear out at the end. They don't have enough depth on this team. Although now with the recent moves they've made, they feel they have a lot more speed now that Daryl Bailey and Darryl Griffith are gone.
Last season, 54 and 28, second in the Midwest. Eaton called for the foul. They were 1 game behind San Antonio. They lost on the final day of the regular season to Golden State to blow the division title. Then in the playoffs, they beat Phoenix 3-1, but lost to Portland 4-1. Patrick Ewing to the foul line. Patrick coming on strong following the quiet game in Philadelphia last Wednesday. Pat Riley making the point that Ewing's productivity across the board was down 20%. Dropped that note, which appeared in all the New York papers, and Ewing has responded
with 40%.
Yes,
in return. But you know, in all the years Patrick Ewing's been a member of the Knicks, he's never had a coach who would come out publicly and challenge him like Pat Riley does.
And there's such great respect for Pat Riley that he does get that kind of response. Karl Malone giving the Jazz a 1-point lead. In the past, if a coach of the Knicks would be quoted in the paper with a little jab, I don't think you'd get the same result. Oakley, and the Knicks by 1. .720 remaining in the third. Jeff Malone just took a shot in the nose. And Hugh Hollins with the call against Karl Malone. John, speak up. I think we've lost the microphone. No problem, John. Just take a rest. And
I'll hang out, Mark.
Okay,
I'm back. Karl was getting a massage from Charles Oakley, so he responded.
Lou Edwards on the steal. Stockton for Jeff Malone. And Oakley with the rebound. Oakley, yes, Charles Oakley hitting from outside. That's his 4th field goal. He has 8 points. The Knicks lead 60-57.
Charles Oakley, 2 of them. One on the offensive rebound, then the jump shot.
John, I would suggest in the future be a little more friendly to the audio man. I think there's sabotage at work.
We'll keep pushing along like the Jazz, Mark.
All right, Utah taking a timeout with 6:23 to go in the third.
New York Knicks basketball is brought to you by Dutch Boy, the official paint sponsor of the NBA. Available at Home Depot.
Frank and Barbara Layden celebrating the birth of now grandchild number 5. Frank Layden, of course, the president of the Utah Jazz, and their son Scott, an assistant coach with Utah, with a baby daughter.
Mary Frances came into the world today. In fact, Frank and I had a lunch engagement, and he didn't show.
John Stockton able to hit. The nerve of Frank spending the time with Scott and his wife Marshall, as Marshall gave birth earlier today. 3 daughters for Scott Layden.
I know that feeling, Marv. But I missed a good meal. You know it's good when you have lunch with Frank.
McDaniel, yes, and it counts. Gets the call on the continuation. Edwards picks up the foul. Knicks lead by 3.
The Knicks are doing exceptionally well tonight is passing the ball to the open man. Now that's a difficult shot that Xavier makes, but he got the ball at the right time.
Mike Brown returning. Xavier McDaniel to the line for the first time. Nine points for the X-Man. Knicks lead 63-59. Trying to make it 3 straight wins on the West Coast portion of this trip. They come in at 25-15. They're tied for first with the Boston Celtics in a virtual tie with the Celtics. Yesterday afternoon beat Detroit at home. Delaney Rudd, who just checked in, brings the Jazz within 2.
Delaney Rudd is a major positive for this team. He delivers right away when he comes into the game.
Wilkins. And the Knicks now lead 65-61. Not only the second field goal for Gerald Wilkins, he has 4. Rudd and Jeff Malone now at the guards. Here's Edwards. Edwards up front with Karl Malone and Mike Brown. Jackson putting the speed on. Finds the open man. And the ball goes back to Utah. Tyrone Corbin replacing Blue Edwards. Tyrone Corbin in his 7th year out of DePaul. Edwards sitting down. The strength of Tyrone Corbin's game is his defense. A relentless defensive player. Malone gets the double team. And McDaniel rebounds the Jeff Malone miss. Ewing able to play it off the deflection. Wilkins, that's from 3-point land. Gerald Wilkins, who's been hitting the 3 as of late, has given the Knicks a 7-point lead. We're coming up on 4 minutes remaining in the 3rd.
Charles Oakley working very hard at making Malone receive the ball out far.
Here's Jeff Malone. Wilkins putting the move on Rudd. And Gerald Wilkins will go to the line.
Knicks big man doing a great job on the defensive boards, and what a fine pitch out by Xavier McDaniel after that Ewing block. That set up Malone. He couldn't hit. McDaniel gets that tip back and finds Gerald, who was on the break. McDaniel wisely looking up, and Gerald draws the foul.
Knicks 69 and the Jazz 61. And the Knicks tonight have done a good job at the foul line. 11 for 13 from the line. Loose ball foul called on Oakley. That is his 3rd foul.
Pat Riley saying to you, Hollins, it was barely a push.
3:52 to go in the 3rd as the Knicks take a timeout.
Well, Dutch boy in the paint is not conclusive tonight. The Knicks with 34 points down low, and the Jazz right behind them. Very close, although the score does not indicate that, Marv.
What amazing deductions on your part, John.
It's tough to make a deduction out of nothing conclusive.
Karl Malone cuts the Knick lead to 69, 63, 3.5 left in the third. Knicks with Wilkins and Jackson at the guards, McDaniel, Ewing, and Oakley up front. 3:20 remaining in the third quarter. Ewing now being played by Mike Brown. Shot clock at 3. Here's Ewing. It counts. Patrick Ewing beating the 24-second buzzer. He now is 10 for 15 from the field for 22 points. The Knicks lead 71-63.
Knicks is showing no sign of being on the road as they continue to use the clock well and hit the open man.
A wild pass by Rudd, who's upset with himself. Ewing jumping out effectively on the double team, and Rudd attempted the pick and roll, and it did not work. Here's Anthony Mason for Xavier McDaniel. Anthony Mason played well in the first half, 17 minutes, 7 points. Did a good job defensively. Ewing couldn't hold on.
Knicks going with a pretty strong front line now, using Oakley and Mason together. Mason now on Corbin.
Shot clock at 4. Jeff Malone. What a beautiful stroke. Jeff Malone has 15 points.
Well, he's the man you want to have the ball when the seconds are ticking away.
Knicks with a 6-point lead. Under 2 minutes remaining in the third. Ewing. He thought he was fouled. Karl Malone. Jackson. And Ewing has Oakley. Knicks now with a 73-65 lead.
What an unusual set of circumstances, with Mark Jackson scooping up the big rebound, gets it to the playmaker Ewing, who gets it to Oakley, who finishes it.
22nd timeout called by Utah with 1:36 remaining in this third quarter.
Knicks on the move a moment ago. Ewing on the turnaround. It's missed, and the Jazz get a break going. Jeff Malone handling the ball over half court. Karl Malone on the side jump shot. And then Mark Jackson beating the bigger man to the ball. Ewing handling the dribble nicely, finds Oakley, and the Knicks get 2, making it an 8-point lead right now.
Knicks winding up the 4-game road trip this evening, back at Madison Square Garden Wednesday night to face the Washington Bullets. First of a home and home. They'll be at Landover on Friday, and then home for Golden State on Sunday afternoon. Again, the good double team, and now John Starks, who just checked in, is able to complete the fast break.
It's rare when you see a bad pass by Stockton, but that one was off target, intended for Karl Malone, and the Knicks turned it into 2 points.
Stockton back on the floor. Delaney Rudd sitting down. Karl Malone took the bump.
Documented by Patrick Ewing.
Patrick Ewing
The first New York team foul.
called for the foul. That is his second.
Knicks showing a lot of staying power here in the third quarter. They did that in New York, though, as well. They blew the Jazz out in New York in the third quarter of that game. Had a tremendous second half, went on a 15-2 run in the third, although it hasn't been quite as dramatic here, but they're showing toughness against this team that has a 17-game home winning streak.
Now the Knicks are taking a timeout with 1:03 remaining in the third.
Friends, use good sense and drink responsibly, because friends know when to say when. A reminder from Budweiser. Knicks are playing some tough defense. Oakley denying Karl Malone the position he wants. What a battle between power forwards. And that pass was off target from Stockton. Malone couldn't handle it. And John Starks way out in front of the break for 2.
So the Knicks now lead at 75-66. Karl Malone on the foul line. Knicks at one point in the first half led by as many as 15. They had the sensational second quarter to pull away. Utah opening up, shooting poorly in the first quarter, and the Jazz, the number 4 team in shooting in the league, just under 50%. Jackson's pass was intercepted by John Stockton. Here's Karl Malone. The Knicks with a 7-point lead. 25 for Malone, who certainly has turned it from that poor performance at the Garden back in December. Here's Starks. Yes, John Starks giving the Knicks a 77-68 lead.
Well, the depth of the Knicks is really on display tonight. Starks coming through with another big shot.
Yes, Starks, Mason, and Anthony have all played well. Shot clock down to 4. Stockton for 3. Ewing with the box out rebound. Here's Mason. Yes, line drive jumper with 1 4/10 seconds remaining. And that's it. John Stockton, for some reason, checking with Jerry Sloan at the Utah bench. Apparently wanted to see if Sloan wanted to take a timeout to set up. So the Knicks close the third with a 19-9 run and lead at 79-68.
New York Knicks are happy to announce a half-price ticket to high school students. Just present a Knicks We're Big on School card on the day of the game. Cards can be picked up at your high school student affairs office. Nobody beats the Wiz stores or the Garden box office. This offer is limited to ticket availability. The Geo card is back.
Well, John, back on December the 14th here at the Delta Center, was certainly a moment that Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons would like to forget about. The much discussed errant elbow thrown by Karl Malone in the process of committing the foul on Isaiah Thomas, and then several Detroit players took exception. Darrell Walker, for one, had to be held back. Here's another look at it. That sideline Isaiah for several games, and since his return to the lineup, Detroit has come on very strong.
Believe it or not, Isaiah, despite getting over 40 stitches, came back to play in that game. Of course, that led to all kinds of bad feeling. A lot of it based on the fact that John Stockton was chosen for the Olympic team ahead of Isaiah Thomas. A lot of bad will from both teams came after that. And people interpreted it as a foul that was intentional. And of course, it wasn't. And it continued on to the point where Karl Malone called up Isaiah Thomas. They had a conversation. He explained his situation. And in fact, USA Today gave it the quote of the day. He said, as Karl Malone said something to the effect of, as long as Isaiah understands me and what I meant, that's all that matters. And apparently they've patched things up, and both players are on good terms now.
Here's Jackson for 3. Yes, Mark Jackson from downtown. And the Knicks have opened up an 82-68 lead. Fourth quarter underway. Marv Albert, John Andres from Salt Lake City, Utah. Brown changed his mind. He started to go up for the jump shot. Last touch by the Knicks. The rookie from Alabama, David Benoit, is back on. Malone up front with Brown and Edwards. Benoit way off, rather Stockton way off, and foul is called. Tackle move by Blue Edwards.
The first Jazz team foul.
So the Knicks have hit 2 out of 4 from three-point range. Gerald Wilkins hitting one. Mark Jackson just a moment ago. Utah is the best in this department at 38%, led by Stockton.
In fact, they have made 95 threes this year, as have the Knicks. Knicks at 31%, however.
And Oakley able to get to it. Mike Brown was stopped. Kiki Vandeweghe getting set to check in for the first time this second half. Played 9 minutes, hit 1 out of 2 in the first half. Starks from downtown.
Knicks with 4 men back defensively.
Edwards. And Ewing with the rebound.
Game earlier this year in New York, Ewing had 17 rebounds, which was then his season high.
Ewing 22 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocked shots, 5 assists.
What a rebound by Mason, reaching right over Benoit to tip it back in his favor.
Here's Mason. Nice turnaround move by Anthony Mason, and the Jazz calling for time. The Knicks lead it 84-68.
So do my sound check.
Hello.
I like your style.
Nation's best. And now your Jeep and Eagle dealers are featuring theirs during the Jeep and Eagle National Drive for the Gold sale. Get a Jeep Cherokee with package discounts and cash back. An Eagle Talon with terrific savings. Or an Eagle Summit wagon with air at no charge. So see your dealer and drive for the gold today. It's the perfect way to celebrate all our nation's best.
I had a lovely meal, and that's the way it was. Over to you, Hal.
Thanks, Carol. This weather will carry us through to the weekend. Joan?
Thanks, Hal. Great time. Jim.
Joan, the pate was fabulous. Carol?
Jim, we must do this again, Hal.
Carol, sounds great. This just in, $455 plus tip. Joan?
Hal, Jim.
Joan, Carol!
Jim, Hal.
Carol!
If it's out there, it's in here. The 9X yellow page. Why would anyone need another?
New York Knicks basketball is brought to you in part by Alamo. There are over 4 million miles of roads in Alamo territory. And with Alamo, all those miles are free.
A reminder, tomorrow starting 10:30 on the MSG network, the New York Rangers take on the San Jose Sharks in San Jose. 10:30 starting time on MSG. Mason called for the foul involved with Malone. Knicks have their biggest lead of the night, 84-68 the score, with 9:47 remaining in the fourth. Greg Anthony is back in. And Hugh Hollins once again calling the illegal defense. So the technical foul will be taken. Jerry Sloan and his Jazz have won 17 straight at home. They lost their home opener to the Seattle Supersonics back on the 7th of November. Reeled off 17 in a row, including a host of blowouts against some quality clubs. A demonstration of how impressive this Knick effort has been tonight. And what is striking, John, is the fact that they had a 15-point lead early. Utah able to come back, take the lead, and the Knicks regroup and once again have the big lead.
It's very rare to see a visiting team do that on the road. As you mentioned, that 17-game winning streak, Marv, is the best in the NBA. They're the best home team percentage-wise. Naturally, you think of the Bulls right away, but they are 21-2. They've suffered 2 losses in Chicago.
Double team on Anthony, able to elude Eaton. Starks for 3. And it's punched out by Oakley, so the Knicks get another possession.
It's been a very strong game for Oakley. He has been involved throughout.
Nick bench counting out the shot clock down to 5, and Vandeweghe drawing a double team inside his foul.
Charles Oakley was over to give Starks a quick message after that pass in.
David Benoit called for the foul. It is a non-shooting affair. Second team foul committed by Utah. Jazz are down only 2 timeouts remaining. Knicks have 4, and they have their 20. And now the Knicks able to rest Patrick Ewing. Anthony. Oakley has the open shot. Rebounded by Malone.
This is a test of this crowd to see if they can come back into this game. They are quiet now.
And Stockton gets it back.
Did they hear me or something?
He's cueing the crowd.
They're
now.
rising.
And Mason was pushed by Malone. Tyrone Corbin is back. David Benoit sitting down. Even the public address announcer, usually very enthusiastic, John, sounds depressed as he announced that foul on Malone.
Boy, Mason really indicates a pro attitude. I mean, he was drilled to the floor by the mailman. No glares. He just turned around and ran up court.
Well, I think that might have been the reason. I don't think he wants to get involved with Karl Malone. Not that he'd back away, but it's really unnecessary. 24-second violation. So Utah will take over. The Knicks by 15. 7:45 remaining in the fourth.
Oh, the crowd has arrived.
Stockton. Oakley came over to help out and was called for the hack. Now Patrick Ewing returns. Charles Oakley sits down after collecting his 4th. And John Stockton to the line.
This Utah Jazz team has punished a lot of good teams here at home this year. But when you look at the situation right now, from the Knicks' perspective, there are only Karl Malone and John Stockton to really worry about. They don't present enough for the opposition to be concerned about. And I look at the middle. In the case of Mark Eaton, he's just not going to give you any offense whatsoever. And they need points.
Here's Ewing. Rebounded by Malone.
That's why you've got to think this team isn't going to go to the NBA Finals or the Western Conference Finals until they get more scoring punch.
Stockton from downtown. And Anthony on the run. Met by Stockton. Jeff Malone getting set to return. Vandeweghe had it knocked away. Mason on the recovery. Down to 5 on the 24. Starks fires.
All right, John, that's all for tonight.
Yes, he's continued to pump away from downtown. Karl Malone getting position. And he'll go to the line to shoot a couple. Ronnie Nunn with the call.
Clock minute 5, Patrick Ewing, his 3rd.
Number 3, charged to Ewing.
Jeff Malone is in for.
Now Jeff Malone is back.
Shoots 2.
Karl Malone, 5 out of 8 from the foul line.
Door is opening right now for the Jazz. This is the time for them to make their move because the Knicks are cold. Nothing particularly good is happening for the Knicks at their offensive end.
The Knicks lead is now 12. Game 3 of the 4-game road trip for the Knicks, who have won 2 of 3 following the loss in Philadelphia. The impressive victory over Golden State. And then the LA Clippers. Stockton with the rebound. Mason thought that Stockton got a piece of him. Save that pass that was thrown away by Anthony. We're down to 6:15 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Knicks with a 12-point lead. Stockton from downtown.
He's having some poor shooting night. John Stockton normally much more effective as a shooter.
Now 4 for 13 from the field. He's 0 for 5 from three-point range. And the foul is called on Stockton.
Pat Riley going with Mark Jackson now for the closing moments. Wonder if that turnover did it. That poor pass intended for Starks is wide open in the corner.
Stockton on the interception. Here's Malone. And the Knicks want a timeout. 5:48 remaining in the fourth quarter. It's the Knicks 84 and Utah 74.
Office or through Ticketmaster. Call the Knicks hotline at 212-465-JUMP for all Knicks ticket information.
Pat Riley calling for the timeout with Utah reeling off 6 unanswered. It is now a 10-point Knick lead, and obviously the crowd very much back into it. Starks back to Jackson. Scrambling defense by Utah, and Jeff Malone picked it off.
Well, he did it the other night to win the game against Seattle.
Stockton, he has just been way off throughout. Tyrone Corbin draws the foul. It's on Anthony Mason. And for the Knicks, their 4th team foul. Corbin, an 81% free throw shooter. Now Gerald Wilkins returns, replacing Xavier McDaniel. Corbin making his first appearance at the foul line. 84-76. 8 straight points by Utah, and Stockton is called for that reach-in. That's the second committed by Stockton, and team foul number 4 for the Jazz. The Knicks are now going with Ewing and Mason, along with the 3 guards, Jackson, Starks, and Wilkins. Minutes to go on the 4th. Stockton got a piece of it. Jackson recovers. Shot clock at 4. Here's Starks. Oh, big bucket by John Starks. Huge. The shot clock running down. He's able to hit. And the Knicks lead 86-78. Stockton was pushed.
Knicks be able to recover. Jackson massaging the clock and making those decisions perfectly. And Starks has had trouble with the jump shot at the buzzer. You can see it, the clock at 0, but the ball went in the hole right before that.
Correction on the score. The scoreboard was wrong a moment ago. It is a 10-point Knick lead, 86-76. Now they changed the foul call. Jackson charged with his 3rd, and the Knicks are over the foul limit. The officials did not realize it. They are informed of that fact, and John Stockton, who is excellent free throw shooter, to go to the line. He's 82% from the foul line. From the field, only 4 for 13.
And he led his team in New York when they played that disappointing game for the Jazz earlier in December.
The Knicks lead 86-78. Pressure being shown by Utah. Knicks have no trouble with it. Four and a half remaining in the 4th.
Pat Riley going against this pressure with his speed team.
Starks from downtown. Yes. So John Starks, who was not hitting the 3 earlier, able able to hit that shot at the 24-second buzzer, and now comes back with a three-pointer. Knicks lead by 11. Ewing with the rebound.
Jazz have no inside game. Big Mark Eaton's out there, but they don't even think about giving him the ball.
And Karl Malone has gone cold after the good stretch in the second and third quarter. Nice ball movement by the Knicks.
See, they're making the defense work so hard.
Yes, and it counts. So Ewing will go to the line.
Ball moving around, the Knicks spacing themselves so well, making the defense swing from side to side following the ball, and Ewing makes a very difficult shot. But how about Starks? With his confidence, the ability to hit big shots, he's done that all season long.
And Utah calls for time. They will have one timeout remaining. Once again, with Utah in the midst of a rally, the Knicks able to hold on and now lead by 14. Jeff Malone not able to hit. The Knicks with a 92-78 lead. 3.5 remaining in this fourth quarter. Another good run by the Knicks to answer the Jazz. Shot clock at 5. Jackson. And Ewing get to it. Ewing again comes back to him, and he's able to hit.
Oh, that's a killer.
27 for Patrick Ewing, and the Knicks now lead 94-78.
How quickly he got to that ball that Mike Brown thought he had.
Foul committed by Ewing. Knicks over the foul limit. So Mike Brown, who is not a good free throw shooter, will go to the line. He's only a 64% shooter.
Mike Brown.
Patrick Ewing has just roared through this West Coast portion of the trip. It began with the game Friday night at Golden State. 35 points, season high 21 rebounds. Against the Clippers in Los Angeles, 34 points, 26 in the second half, 14 rebounds, and it has continued here tonight against Utah. 27 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists for Ewing. Wilkins, and it will be Utah ball with 2:25 remaining in the fourth.
Ewing has remained so active going to the boards.
Stockton rejected by Ewing. Loose ball foul against Utah. It's on Brown.
Mike Brown, his second penalty situation.
Stockton on a nice hesitation gets around Mark Jackson, but Ewing comes over to send that baby back. Karl Malone under pressure from Mason. It's up a difficult shot. And Ewing right in the middle of things continues to stay active. Harv, I don't know when I've seen him so active for such a continuous part of the game. I mean, just showing his tremendous strength. The Jazz dying on the boards here in the second half, only 13 rebounds.
Well, Jerry Sloan now emptying the bench, conceding that this one is over. A 15-point Knick lead. Corey Crowder, the rookie from Kentucky Wesleyan, come on for the first time. Isaac Austin to play briefly in the first half, checking in. Austin, a 6'10 rookie from Arizona State. Delaney Rudd is back along with David Benoit. Another extremely impressive performance by the New York Knicks. Now we try to check out the record books. Nothing official has been recorded, but I can't recall when the Knicks have been able to go through the Western journey with perfection. They will make it 3 out of 3 tonight. The trip beginning, though, in Philadelphia. But they were able to knock off Golden State, the Clippers in L.A., and now the Utah Jazz. Last season under Stu Jackson, they won 3 out of 4 on the West Coast. Starks missing on the reverse stump. Knicks last year beat Sacramento, Lakers, and Golden State, but then lost to Portland, which was a very fine trip to the West. But they will make it 3 out of 3 here tonight.
What's so impressive, too, is that game in Golden State was a very big win in that they met a Golden State team that was really tough at home this year. I mean, and riding high with a 5-game winning streak as well.
Also, 2 of the victories coming over division leaders in Golden State, leaders of the Pacific, and Utah, leaders of the Midwest Division. Just under 1 minute remaining in the 4th quarter. And the Knicks will have a very splendid ride back to the New York area. Wilkins called for the foul, and Charles Oakley replaces Patrick Ewing. Very long night for these fellas, who will see the win streak at home stop at 17. Patrick Ewing greeted on the bench. Another sensational all-around game for Ewing.
Well, after losing their first 5 road games this year, the Knicks have now won 11, or will have won 11 of 17 on the road.
And they'll even up the road record at 11-11. Winning the last 3 on the road, they go to 26-15, back on top in the Atlantic by a half game. Mason, nice move by Anthony Mason, and the Knicks now lead 97-80. 35 seconds to go.
You know what's beautiful about that move is that he didn't try and go for the stuff. How about the fact that the Jazz, who normally average 107 points a game, are 27 points below their per-game scoring average.
Yes, all the stats are happy ones from the New York Knicks point of view. They also will make it 4 straight wins against the Jazz, and for the 2nd straight season, a sweep of the home and home. Final seconds. Here's Mason. 24 a second violation. 4 seconds to go.
And how about this trip for Anthony Mason? Again, finishing the game, playing most of the important minutes of this game.
Here's Delaney Rudd, blocked by Mark Jackson. The New York Knicks have defeated the Utah Jazz 97-80. Pat Riley congratulating each Knick as they head to the locker room. This a group that feels very good about each other as they go to 26-15, a half game in front of the Boston Celtics. They've now won 3 in a row. 4 of the last 5 are Evian player of the game, Patrick Ewing, 28 points, along with 12 rebounds. Also had 5 assists and 5 blocked shots. Again, the final, the Knicks 97 and the Utah Jazz 80. We'll be back to recap right after these words. The center in Salt Lake City, where the Knicks defeat the Utah Jazz 97-80, led by Patrick Ewing with 28 points, but another all-around impressive showing by Anthony Mason. Mason 13 points, 5 for 7 from the field, 8 rebounds, and Anthony is alongside John.
Thank you, Marv. Anthony Mason, heavy drip going on here. You had to work very hard. First thing I want to ask you about, what's it like going up against Karl Malone?
He's very physical, very, very strong. He's a great player. You got to be on your P's and Q's. You can't take your eye off him. You got to keep a body on him. I mean, you just got to come with a full workout when you're playing against Karl Malone.
Is there any fear going up against him, particularly when he moves to the basket?
No, there's no time for fear. I mean, you know you got a competitive, strong player coming at you. You just got to get position, hope you draw offensive foul, or either try to make, disturb his shot. That's about the best you can do with Karl Malone.
Anthony, you're playing a much bigger role these days for the New York Knicks, finishing games, important games, and the 3 wins now have been very important for this team and must give you a particular sense of pride in your game. What is it about your game that you feel it's contributing most to the team right now?
I think I got the added scoring points to help out on Ewing. I'm adding more rebounds. I'm playing better defense. I think I'm adding an all around, you know, not just one category. I think I'm adding all around.
Earlier this season, you were reluctant to shoot the ball. Now that seems to have changed. Now, we know that Paul Silas has been spending a little time with you lately on your shot. Has he helped you? And what has, assuming he has, obviously, but what has he particularly helped you with your shooting?
He's helped me with my hook shot. Basically, the key to the whole thing was they just told me to shoot the ball. And I haven't been shooting it. There's been a few times I had an open shot, I passed the ball. They work with me on the hook, tell me how to get my body in between the man and a rim and shoot the hook because I'm kind of big and a person wouldn't be able to block it.
That was some action with you against the Clippers the other night in a big game. That must have felt good, a couple of those shots.
All right, a few hooks went down for me in the Clipper game. Milwaukee, it gives you confidence, makes you take the shot. I felt good about my game.
Now, when the Utah Jazz came back on you tonight after the Knicks losing the lead, what was the feeling of the team? Did you feel they might run by you?
No, the NBA is full of runs. I mean, you're never going to put a team down 20. A good team like Utah put them down 20, then 30, then 40. They're going to make a run at you, and we just had to keep our heads and keep up the intensity level. And we made our run. They made another run. Then we made a few more runs, and you know, this is the result.
What is the focus of the team in stopping the Utah Jazz? The main focus, that is.
They have so many weapons. Our focus is to make them change their offense. You know, don't give them the open shot. They're going to score inside. Don't give them the open shot. If they're going to score outside, don't give them the inside. You can't let a team like that have their complete game, and we just want to take them out of their game.
Anthony, the Knicks now with 3 in a row have brought a new personality now by their success on the road. Do you think the team is now ready for to move to another dimension, another level perhaps?
Yeah, we're ready to take it up to another level. We want to show we can win on the road. We played 3 great teams on their home courts, and we won. We kept our intensity. That was the main focus, to keep our intensity level up in the latter quarters, the fourth quarter, third quarter. And that's what we've been doing. Patrick Ewing been working very, very hard, and it's contagious. Everybody groups around him, and we get it done.
Well, fourth quarter emphasis has been certainly part of your life right now, Anthony, and you're very much a part of the Knicks' success. Thanks for taking time and visiting with us.
Thank you.
Okay, happy trip back to New York for the Knicks and Anthony Mason. Now let's go back to Marv Albert.
All right, John, and the Utah Jazz held to just 12 points in the fourth quarter. Outscored in the fourth 18-12, and they are defeated 97-80 here in Salt Lake City. We'll be right back. And a look at the leading scorers brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers, Advantage Jeep and Eagle. Patrick Ewing in 41 minutes, 12 for 22 for 28 points, along with 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 blocked shots. Anthony Mason, 5 for 7 for his 13. John Starks came on late, hit a couple of big buckets down the stretch. 12 points for Starks. Oakley had 10. Charles did a nice job off the boards. And Xavier McDaniel with 9. Utah shooting very poor tonight. Karl Malone, 28 points on 11 for 21. John Stockton, 4 for 14 from the field for only 15. And Jeff Malone also petered off at the end after the good start. 6 for 15 overall for 15 points. Jazz shooting just 37% from the field, while the Knicks were at 52%. And the Knicks had no difficulty at all when the Jazz, upon occasion, would go to the double team.
No, they moved the ball exceptionally well. What they did tonight, Marv, was spread themselves out, and they all knew where each other was. And they made the Jazz work very hard because they had to follow the ball as it was moving quickly, and as a result, the Knicks got good shots. And it's interesting to note on this trip, their shooting percentage from the field got better with each game. And tonight it was better than the prior 2 games, obviously. And just a tremendous effort. And, you know, Pat Riley's got to be delighted with the effort put forth and what he got from his team.
And the Jazz, as you well know, John, are the top shooting team in the NBA from 3-point range. But tonight, 0 for 11 from downtown. John Stockton 0 for 5 from 3-point range.
Very rare to see John Stockton miss like that, particularly at home. And it had to be a shocking loss in many ways, breaking this 17-game home winning streak that the Jazz did tonight, because the Knicks really had it all together. But what was amazing was how the Knicks were able to lose the lead, get the lead, of course, early, then lose it, and then come back. It just is so rare for that to happen on the road.
But of most significance, you like this new arena, right, John?
Love it here. Love it here. Can't wait to come back next year.
All right, let's take a look at the Budweiser dunk of the game. Budweiser, the king of beers, with that distinctively clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud, presenting the dunk of the game.
Well, and appropriately, Patrick Ewing is the man. Patrick leads the break here, gets that loose ball, gives it to Greg Anthony, and then continues running, and Anthony wisely gives it back to Ewing for the Budweiser dunk of the game.
And we'll be back with more from Salt Lake City in a moment. Tonight, the Knicks 26-15. They are by themselves on top of the Atlantic by a half game over the Boston Celtics. They've won 3 straight, 4 of the last 5. They're back at the Garden on Wednesday for the Washington Bullets. And we'll be on hand starting with Knicks game night at 7. First of a home-and-home against the Bullets. Coming up next here on MSG Racing from the Meadowlands. Marv Albert with John Andre saying so long from the new Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah.
New York Knicks basketball has been brought to you by